great leaders born or made? Now, probably the biggest name in leadership theory is a guy called John Adair. John Adair is still alive. He's quite old now. He was in the army and originally he was given the job by the army of trying to find out what characteristics the best leaders had so that they could recruit more of those types of people. And what he found was that it wasn't actually personality at all. It wasn't what you are. It was what you do that made you a great leader. And he found that the best leaders did certain things. There was nothing to do with their personality at all. And you might think the good leaders are approachable, intelligent, charismatic, decisive, tough, etc. And they probably are. But we can all learn to do the right things. And actually, if you look at the leaders that are more decisive and good listeners, you'll find a lot of traits are almost contradictory. So you can be any different type of personality and still be a good leader. Perhaps to be a really great world-class leader, you have to inherit some characteristics. But to be a good leader in a company, anybody can do it. You just have to learn what to do. So, John Adair moved the whole subject from trait theory to the idea of transactional leadership. It's what you do that matters, rather than what you are. And he came out with two theories. The first one is that there are three areas that leaders have to pay attention to. He called this action-centered leadership. And his idea is that, first of all, the leader has to make sure the team has to be happy. So that involves certain amount of team building. And then individuals have to be happy within the team. And then it involves looking after the individuals, having plans for each person. So task, team and individual, he drew three overlapping circles and he called it action-centered leadership. Now I suppose he is right. John divided that down and he divided the people part into team and the individuals. But his second theory, which I do rather like, said that things go in 5 stages and the leader has to pay attention to the task team. And the 5 stages are, first of all, setting the objectives. What are we trying to do? And that the leader would make sure everybody understands the objective. Perhaps would involve them in some objective setting, but normally would probably provide a vision of where we are going. So that's objectives. Second stage is planning. So again, the leader will make sure what we spend enough time on planning. Would involve the people in planning, it would control the planning process and make sure that lots of ideas are considered. The third stage is then a briefing. Making sure that everybody understands the plan and quite often the people who have got to carry it out are not the same as the ones who were involved in making the plan. So briefing is explaining the plan to the troops who have to carry it out. You can see it's quite a military model because he was a military man. The fourth of his 5 stages is action. That's when you actually do whatever the job is. And the leader at this stage is monitoring, controlling, checking that the team are happy, make sure everybody is involved, make sure the quality is done right. So there's a few jobs the leader does during action and then finally reviews or evaluates afterwards. So those are the 5 stages: objectives, planning, briefing, action and review. And within each of those 5 stages, you have got to look after 3 areas: the task, the team and the individual. And you can draw this out as a matrix. And John Adair would say, and I think he might be right, that everything a leader does is in the matrix. Somewhere, for example, appraisals are to do with setting objectives for individuals and then evaluating, reviewing individuals so they actually appear in 2 boxes on the matrix. So that's John Adair's structure. I think there's one flaw in his structure, actually, which is that because he's an army guy, he's very interested in command tasks, starting to finish almost like a project. And it's great for that. What are the objectives? What are the plans for doing this, etc. But a lot of us aren't. We aren't doing the same projects, but we are also controlling the processes. So let's suppose you just run a factory. or you run a call center. His model doesn't work so well for that because it's not as if you've got one objective that you then plan. So keeping people happy and monitoring processes. Anyway, that's John Adair. He's the guy when it comes to leadership. And that concludes this first section on what is leadership. We are going to have a look at motivation next. There are some great theories on that. And then we are going to come back to leadership a bit more because we are going to look at leadership style. And that's a really good theory on leadership. I'm going to share this with you later in this course.